Rome, 1975. A city alive with ritual, tradition, and the irresistible scent of freshly brewed espresso. It is here, in the eternal heart of Italy, that a single observation will change the way the world drinks coffee forever. In Italy, coffee is not merely a beverage, it is a ceremony. Every morning, millions of Italians gather at their neighborhood bar for a ritual that has remained unchanged for generations. The Italian espresso bar is a world unto itself, a theater of smells, sounds, and gestures. Behind the counter, the barista is its undisputed maestro. The Roman barista works with an almost musical precision, each gesture deliberate, each movement shaped by decades of tradition and an uncompromising pursuit of perfection. Then, the extraction. A dark, silky liquid flows in a slow, controlled stream, crowned by a layer of golden hazelnut crema. It is the most perfect cup of espresso one could imagine. Among the customers that morning is Eric Favre, a young Nestlé engineer from Switzerland. He orders an espresso, and then he stops. He watches. He thinks. Something is happening here that he cannot quite explain yet, but he knows he must capture it. He opens his notebook and begins to sketch. A pressurized chamber, a sealed portion, a mechanism to force hot water through finely ground coffee. The idea is still rough, but the seed has been planted. Back in Switzerland, Nestlé was already the world's largest food company. Its headquarters in Vevey, perched on the shores of Lake Geneva with the Alps rising behind, embodied a tradition of precision, science, and industrial ambition. Within Nestlé's sprawling research complex, teams of scientists and engineers spent their days solving the world's most complex food science challenges. Eric Favre joined this world with one obsession: recreating the perfect Roman espresso. The concept was both simple and radical. A single-serve, pre-measured portion of coffee sealed inside a pressurized capsule. Precise, consistent, repeatable. A coffee machine for people, not just professionals. In 1976, Eric Favre filed the patent. A pressurized, single-serve coffee extraction system using an individual sealed capsule. It was a document that, at the time, almost no one believed in, but would eventually be worth billions. The physical prototype was unglamorous, a rough aluminium capsule hand-assembled in the lab. But inside it lay the precise geometry of a breakthrough, a sealed, pressurized portion of finely ground coffee, ready to yield the perfect cup on demand. When Favre presented his invention to Nestlé's leadership, the reaction was cautious at best. A coffee machine for households? The executives around that table saw a niche product, an interesting experiment perhaps, but not yet a business. Nestlé's first strategy was to sell the system to professionals, to restaurants, hotels, and corporate dining rooms. The logic seemed sound, but the market never quite agreed. In corporate offices across Switzerland, the machines were installed in break rooms and cafeterias. Employees were largely indifferent. The product was good, but the context was wrong, and nobody was asking for it. Year after year, the sales reports told the same story. The numbers never moved. For nearly a decade, Nespresso was a product searching for its market and finding nothing but silence. Unsold machines accumulated in warehouses. Pallets of capsule stock sat untouched. Inside Nestlé, voices began to question whether the project should be quietly abandoned. In 1986, Nestlé made a decisive structural choice. Nespresso would become its own autonomous company within the group. Separate management, separate strategy, a fresh start with just 5 people. 5 employees, a small rented office, a handful of machines, and a catalogue of 9 capsule varieties. This was the entirety of Nespresso in 1986. And yet, within this tiny team lived the conviction that they were sitting on something extraordinary. The first Nespresso machines and capsules were launched simultaneously in Switzerland, Italy, and Japan. 3 countries, 3 cultures, and 3 markets that would remain largely unmoved. The professional B2B strategy was still firmly in place, and it was still failing. Then came Jean-Paul Gaillard. In the late 1980s, this unconventional executive took over as CEO of Nespresso and immediately saw what others had missed. The problem was never the product. The problem was the positioning. Gaillard made a radical decision: abandon the professional market entirely. Nespresso would no longer chase restaurant owners or office managers. It would go directly to the consumer, specifically to the most demanding and discerning consumers in Europe. The ideal Nespresso customer was not an office manager. It was someone who dined at great restaurants, who traveled business class, who appreciated quality above all else. Someone who would pay for the best, provided the experience lived up to the promise. Gaillard's most radical innovation was not a product, it was a business model. He created the Nespresso Club, a direct membership system through which consumers could order capsules by phone, bypassing traditional retail entirely. It was subscription commerce before the internet existed. Every element of the brand was reimagined from scratch. The packaging, the capsule colors, the typography, the language. Nothing was left to chance. Nespresso was not going to be a coffee brand. It was going to be a luxury experience. The machines themselves were reinvented. Gone was the boxy industrial aesthetic of the early prototypes. In its place, a sleek, sculptural object designed to sit proudly on a kitchen counter, as much a statement of taste as a coffee-making appliance. The capsules became iconic objects in their own right, each color a different intensity, each variety a different origin. A simple, tactile pleasure. You chose your experience before you even pressed the button. Gaillard's most audacious move was the boutique. Not a store, not a shop. A temple to coffee, designed to feel like entering a fine jeweler's or a perfume house rather than a retail outlet. The concept had never been done for coffee before. When the first Nespresso boutique opened on the Avenue de l'Opéra in Paris, it was immediately unlike anything the coffee world had ever seen. The architecture spoke of luxury. The lighting spoke of desire. The experience spoke of belonging to something rare. Inside the boutique, everything was choreographed. The capsule wall, the tasting bar, the expert advisors, the ritual of selection, choosing your blend, your intensity, your moment, was the product just as much as the coffee itself. Behind the luxury facade, Nespresso had built one of the world's most precise food manufacturing operations. The factory in Avenches, Switzerland, was the engine of the entire experience, producing millions of capsules with exacting consistency. Every single capsule began its life in the tasting laboratory. Teams of master coffee tasters, some of the most trained palates on earth, evaluated batch after batch, ensuring that the cup experience never varied by a single degree. The Nespresso Club model demanded a logistical infrastructure of exceptional precision. Orders placed by phone and later online had to arrive at the customer's door within 24 hours. Speed and reliability were as much a part of the luxury promise as the coffee itself. In the 2000s, Nespresso's expansion accelerated across Asia. The Shanghai boutique, opened on the iconic Nanjing Road, became a statement of the brand's global ambitions. Premium coffee culture was no longer the exclusive province of Europe. As the brand grew, so did the sophistication of its communication. Nespresso was not advertising a coffee machine, it was advertising a moment, an emotion, an identity, and it needed the right voice to carry that message to the world. Beginning in the mid-2000s, Nespresso's global advertising campaigns, headlined by one of Hollywood's most recognizable stars, became cultural events in their own right. The tagline, "What else?" entered the lexicon of modern advertising history. The campaigns ran in over 40 countries simultaneously. Within weeks of each launch, Nespresso would see measurable spikes in both membership registrations and machine sales. Advertising had become a precision instrument, and it was working. The machines entered some of the most coveted kitchens in the world, from a Milanese penthouse to a Manhattan loft, from a London townhouse to a Tokyo apartment. The Nespresso machine had become a universal symbol of a particular way of living. By the 2010s, Nespresso had become more than a brand. It was a case study taught in every major business school in the world. A textbook example of blue ocean strategy, brand building, and direct-to-consumer disruption. Nespresso's competitive advantage was never just the capsule. It was the relentless culture of innovation. In the Lausanne Research Centre, teams of food scientists, engineers, and coffee agronomists worked constantly to push the boundaries of what a capsule could deliver. Today, Nespresso operates in more than 60 countries. It employs over 13,000 people worldwide. It has sold hundreds of millions of machines and produced billions of capsules. And it all began with one man, one morning, in a Roman espresso bar, watching a barista make the perfect cup. What Eric Favre witnessed in that Roman bar half a century ago has never changed. Only the scale has grown. The perfect cup of espresso, the golden crema, the ritual preserved. This is the story of Nespresso, and it is still being written. Thanks for watching. More videos to come on disruption makers. Stay tuned and please subscribe.